The cart stops outside a timber-framed house on Cheapside, and the wheels creak under the weight of what they carry. It is past midnight. The driver does not knock. He knows the protocol. Inside, a woman is wrapping her husband's body in linen she boiled 3 times, as if heat could cleanse what has already happened. The fabric clings to his skin, which has turned the color of ash where it is not black. The swelling under his arm is the size of a fist. She does not cry. There is no time for that. The cart will leave in 5 minutes, with or without her cooperation. Outside, the driver lights a clay pipe and stares at the red cross painted on the door. The paint is still wet. Someone did this earlier today. Maybe at noon. Maybe at sunset. It does not matter. The cross is a promise. Everyone inside this house is already dead, or will be soon. My name is Arthur Graves. Using forensic AI reconstruction, I am standing in the city of London in the year 1348, at the absolute center of the worst biological catastrophe Europe has ever seen. The Black Death is not a metaphor. It is not a distant historical fact. It is here, in the air I am breathing, in the water people are drinking, in the fleas embedded in the fur of every rat scurrying through the alleys. In the next 3 years, this plague will kill between 30 and 60% of Europe's population. But numbers mean nothing when you are standing in it. What matters is the smell. What matters is the sound of that cart at night, and the silence that follows it. The streets of London in October of 1348 are narrower than you imagine. Most are barely wide enough for 2 people to pass without touching. The buildings lean inward, their upper floors jutting out over the street, blocking the sun even at midday. This creates a permanent twilight at ground level, a half-darkness where the air does not move. It sits heavy, thick, with the smell of human waste, rotting fish from the Thames, and something else now, something new, the sweet chemical stench of decomposition. It clings to clothing, it gets into hair. People burn bundles of sage and rosemary in doorways trying to drive it out, but the smoke only mixes with the rot, creating a gray haze that hangs over the city like a burial shroud. The population of London before the plague was around 70,000. Now, in the 4th month of the outbreak, the number is impossible to calculate because people are dying faster than they can be counted. The parish clerks try. They keep ledgers, writing names in cramped Latin script by candlelight, but the ink is barely dry before the lists are obsolete. Entire families vanish overnight. A baker, his wife, 3 children, and an apprentice, gone between Sunday Mass and Monday morning. Their shop stays closed. No one touches the door. The Red Cross marks it like a brand. The crosses are everywhere now. They appear on doors across the city, painted in a hurry with whatever is available. Ox blood, red ochre, iron oxide mixed with linseed oil. The color varies. Some are bright, almost orange in direct sunlight. Others are dark, nearly brown. But everyone knows what they mean. The house is infected. Do not enter. Do not help. The people inside are to be left alone until they recover, which almost none of them do, or until they die, which takes between 3 and 5 days on average, sometimes faster. Sometimes a person wakes with a fever and is dead by nightfall. The swellings appear first, lumps in the groin, under. The arms, on the neck. They are called buboes, from the Greek word for groin. They are firm to the touch, hot, and excruciatingly painful. The skin around them turns black. This is where the disease gets its name, the Black Death. Not because of the darkness of the times, though that is true enough, because of the color of the flesh. I walk down a street near St. Paul's Cathedral, where the stench is so overpowering that people tie cloth soaked in vinegar around their faces. It does not help. The vinegar burns the nostrils and makes the eyes water, but it does not block the smell.
Keep up, boy.
Ahead of me, a man is dragging a boy by the wrist. The boy is maybe 10 years old. He is limp, barely able to walk. His father, if that is who the man is pulling him toward a church. The boy's neck is swollen on one side, a grotesque bulge that distorts the shape of his head. His eyes are open but unfocused. The father is shouting something in Middle English, a desperate plea to God or to anyone. Listening. No one stops. No one helps. Helping means touching, and touching means infection. People step aside. They press themselves against the walls to let the man pass. He reaches the church steps and collapses, still holding the boy's wrist. A priest appears in the doorway, looks down at them, and then slowly, very slowly, closes the door. There is a particular kind of cruelty in a plague. It is not the cruelty of a tyrant or an invading army. It is indiscriminate. It does not care if you are rich or poor, pious or sinful, a child or an old man. It simply spreads. And in spreading, it destroys the basic architecture of human society. The things that make us human: compassion, family bonds, the instinct to help someone who is suffering, all of that becomes dangerous. Survival means isolation. It means letting a boy die on church steps because opening the door might kill everyone inside. The Thames is lower than usual this autumn. The drought over the summer left the riverbanks exposed, and now, in October, the mud is thick with debris, broken carts, shattered pottery, and bodies. They appear at low tide, lodged in the reeds or half buried in silt. Some are wrapped in cloth, some are not. The river has become an open grave. The official policy is to bury plague victims in mass pits outside the city walls, in fields that used to grow barley and rye. But the carts cannot keep up. There are not enough grave diggers. The ones still working demand triple wages, and even then, they quit after a week. The labor is unbearable, digging through clay soil in the cold rain, hauling bodies that are slick with fluids, lime burning their hands and throats as they scatter it over the dead to speed decomposition. So people improvise. They throw bodies into the river at night, hoping the current will carry them downstream, away from the city, out to the estuary and the sea. It does not. The bodies wash up on the south bank near Southwark, where they are eventually burned in open pits that smolder for days. The physicians of London are overwhelmed. Most have fled. The ones who remain wear long robes soaked in wax or oil, and over their faces they wear masks shaped like the beaks of birds. The beak is hollow, packed with dried flowers, camphor, and ambergris. The theory is that the plague spreads through bad air, miasma, and that sweet-smelling substances can filter it out. The masks make them look inhuman, like creatures from a nightmare. Children scream when they see them. The physicians move slowly through the streets, carrying leather bags filled with instruments, lancets for bloodletting, cauterizing irons, jars of leeches. They believe the disease is caused by an imbalance of the body's four humors: blood, phlegm, black bile, yellow bile. The solution, they think, is to drain the excess. They cut into veins and let blood pour into pewter bowls. They apply leeches to the buboes, hoping to draw out the poison. It does nothing. Patients die anyway, often faster than they would have without intervention. But the physicians continue because there is nothing else to do. To stop would be to admit that they are powerless, that their entire understanding of the human body is wrong. In the wealthier parts of the city, near the Tower of London and the estates along the Strand, the rich are attempting to outrun the plague. They pack their belongings into wagons and leave for the countryside, for manor houses in Kent or Essex, where the air is cleaner and the population is sparse. But the plague follows them. It travels in their luggage, in the folds of their clothing, in the fleas that nest in the straw of their bedding. Within a week of arriving at their country estates, the fever begins. The buboes appear, and then they die far from home, in a borrowed bed, attended by servants who will be dead themselves within days. The irony is almost too perfect to bear. The wealthy, who have spent their entire lives insulated from the suffering of the poor, discover that money cannot buy safety. Not from this. The plague does not recognize class. It does not care about bloodlines or titles. A baron dies in the same agony as a beggar. His body rots at the same speed. And in the end, they are buried in the same mass grave, side by side, anonymously, because there is no room for anything else. Inside the city, daily life has collapsed into a kind of slow-motion chaos. Markets still operate, but the crowds are thin. Vendors sell wilted vegetables and salted fish from carts, their faces wrapped in cloth. Prices have tripled. A loaf of bread that cost a penny in July now costs 3. Flour is running out. The mills outside the city have stopped working because the millers are dead. Grain shipments from the countryside have slowed to a trickle. People hoard what they can. They lock their doors and refuse to open them, even for neighbors, even for family. Trust has evaporated. There are rumors of looters breaking into homes marked with red crosses, stealing jewelry and silver from the dead. There are rumors of priests demanding payment for last rites, and of gravediggers selling spaces in the burial pits to the highest bidder. Some of the rumors are true, most are not. But in a plague, truth and rumor become indistinguishable. Fear fills in the gaps. At night, the city is almost silent. The taverns are closed. The brothels are empty. The usual sounds of London, the hammering of blacksmiths, the shouts of street vendors, the bells of churches marking the hours, have been replaced by a low, constant murmur. It is the sound of prayer. In every house, in every room, people are praying. They kneel on cold floors and recite the Pater Noster, the Ave Maria, the Credo. They beg God for mercy, for protection, for an explanation. They ask what they have done to deserve this. They promise to be better, to sin less, to give more to the church. They make bargains. If you spare my children, I will go on pilgrimage. If you spare my husband, I will take a vow of chastity. The prayers are desperate, frantic, and ultimately useless. God, if he is listening, does not answer. The church's official position is that the plague is divine punishment. Humanity has sinned, and this is the consequence. The bishops issue proclamations from their palaces, urging repentance and penance. They organize processions through the streets where the faithful walk barefoot, carrying crosses and relics, singing hymns in Latin. The processions are meant to appease God's wrath. Instead, they accelerate the spread of the disease. Hundreds of people, packed shoulder to shoulder, breathing the same air, touching the same objects. Within days of each procession, the death toll spikes. But the church does not stop. To stop would be to admit doubt, and doubt is more dangerous than plague. There is a group of men and women who have taken the church's teachings to their logical extreme. They are called flagellants. They travel from town to town, stripping to the waist and whipping themselves with leather cords embedded with iron barbs. They believe that by punishing their own flesh, they can take on the sins of the world and end the plague. They march in columns, singing hymns, their backs shredded and bleeding. People gather to watch, some join in. The flagellants are both horrifying and mesmerizing. They represent a kind of collective madness, a belief that suffering can be weaponized, that pain can be turned into salvation. They are wrong, of course. The plague does not care about their sacrifice. It spreads among them, just as it spreads among everyone else. But they continue because the alternative is to accept that there is no reason, no meaning, no logic to what is happening. I have seen war. I have seen famine. I have seen cities burn. But there is something uniquely corrosive about a plague. In war, there is an enemy. In famine, there is a cause. But in a plague, there is nothing to fight. You cannot negotiate with a disease. You cannot rally against it. You can only wait and hope that you are not next. And that waiting, that helplessness, breaks people in ways that violence never could. By November, the worst is not over. It is only beginning. The plague will continue through the winter, through the spring of 1349, and into the summer. It will come in waves, retreating and then surging back, each time killing thousands more. The mass graves outside the city walls will expand into vast fields of churned earth, where the dead are stacked in layers, separated by thin coats of lime. The city will survive, but it will be permanently changed. The population will not recover to its pre-plague levels for more than a century. The economics structure will collapse. Entire professions will disappear. Villages will be abandoned. And the survivors will carry the memory of this year for the rest of their lives. A memory not of heroism or resilience, but of fear. The fear of the knock on the door. The fear of the Red Cross. The fear of the cart at midnight. I stand on London Bridge as the sun sets over the city. The river below is dark, almost black, moving slowly toward the sea. Smoke rises from the burial pits to the north, thick columns that blend into the clouds. The bridge is nearly empty. A few people hurry past, their heads down, their faces covered. No one speaks. No one makes eye contact. This is what the plague has done. It has turned a city of 70,000 into a collection of isolated individuals, each one alone, each one waiting to see if they will live or die. The bridge sways slightly under my feet. The wooden planks creak, and somewhere in the distance I hear the sound of a cart, the wheels turning, the slow, inevitable rhythm of death. If you are watching this, you are living in a world where plagues can be treated, where diseases have names and cures, where death is no longer random and absolute. Remember that this is a gift. Remember that for most of human history, people lived with the knowledge that at any moment, without warning, everything could end. If you found this report valuable, leave a like. Subscribe to the Time Correspondent